This July 9th, 2019 meeting of the Raymore Arts Commission will come to order. Mr. Icky, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Barry,
Present.
Commissioner Richardson,
Present.
Commissioner Paris, absent, Commissioner Lawrence,
Here.
Commissioner Jones,
Here.
Commissioner Gribble,
Here.
Commissioner Setzer.
Here.
So we have a quorum. Will we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Well, welcome to everybody. We have no public comments tonight, so we have no presentations. So we will get right into the committee reports. Bob, do you have a Public Art Committee report?
Actually, I don't. Public Arts Committee met on, or did not meet because we usually fall on the first Thursday, and this last one was July 4th. So
Okay.
we didn't have one this time.
Okay. You want to comment on the mural? How about that?
I haven't seen it yet. Has anyone gone out to see it? I know that it
Well, you were
should be
there.
completed now. We were there while he
Right.
was painting, but it
Right.
looked gorgeous in process, but I haven't seen it since the completion.
Okay. Is it completed?
It is totally completed, yes.
Totally completed. Wonderful. Okay.
Oh, I think it looks great. I'm a big fan, so.
Okay, thank you. Lauren, do you have a Performance Art Committee?
I do. I
Okay.
do. We did get together as a group last month, and the bulk of our conversation was built around basically putting some documentation together for presentations from outside people that come in, are requesting donations or our support in some capacity, just to kind of give them something that they can have prior to that allows them to give us a complete idea, basically. So actually Sharon is going to put something together and send that over, and then we'll kind of look it over, break it down, clean it up, and then we will present at the next meeting.
That's great. You guys are progressing along nicely. That's good. So the Education and Event Working Group, I don't think there's been a meeting, but I know that Sharon sent an email to all of us with the suggestions for the scheduling for the rest of the year. And I think sounds great. I mean, sounds logical and in keeping with the attendance that we've had at various events. So I would like to thank Melissa again for all of her hard work, and particularly the paint and sip kind of things, which are proving to be a favorite. So we'll look forward to more of those. And, well, in terms of the performance art, we have Friday night, the Steel Band, which I'm looking forward to. So lots going on everywhere.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Can you try to speak a little more into the microphone? Or move
I
it?
will just
Thank
bring it up here.
Thanks.
How's that? Thank you. I not only can't see anything tonight, I can't speak very loudly. Okay. Any other comments on the committee reports or none? Okay. So staff reports. Mike, are you going to do a budget update?
Not a major budget update, just wanted to let you know that we are, because of the completion of the mural, we went ahead and finalized out the rest of that on the budgeted list. Also went through and finalized out some of the items on Summer Scene as we are getting closer to that date, and I know a lot of those bills will be coming up here in the next couple of weeks. And so as you can see, this is the budget as it stands currently, with roughly $5,032 left for some of the other expenses, along with the summer concert series, professional development. Although the Tri-County Art League, Commissioner Paris had mentioned that they are not having an event this fall. We have not yet removed that, and we'll wait until the commission wishes to make a formal budget amendment to remove that from the budget. But that is one area where we know we will not be spending any money, even though it is currently in the budget. That does conclude a budget update.
Can I ask a question about it? the classes programming for adults, the paint and sip events, we've budgeted $1,500. It looks like we've only spent 71. Is that the one that I came to, Melissa? Did those?
Yes, the company that put that on handled all of the ticketing and everything.
Oh,
So
okay.
we were able to not have to, I guess we actually did have an attendant there, so we need to factor in $30 extra.
Okay, so
We spent a little, but those don't really
whatever
cost us
the
anything.
people paid, the
But straight to
company
the,
went
straight
straight.
to the
Okay,
company that was putting it on.
cool,
Yep.
okay, all right.
Well, and then you'll see on the agenda a couple of proposals for some of the budget, I won't call it excess, but unspent and underspent. So we'll talk about that later under the consent agenda. I just turned my mic off, I'm sorry. Okay. Melissa, summer scene.
Right now, we have 14 art and maker vendors for summer scene. We have our entertainment lined up. I actually just ordered postcards this week that we will pass out at Friday's Steel Drum Band Island Night event that are promos for summer scene. They should be here by Friday. And I'm not gonna lie, trash has been taking up a lot of my life. But I have plans to move forward. Things are finally getting a little bit more back to normal, so we'll start doing extra stuff. But I've still been paying for ads to promo this, and we have been getting a lot of interest and a lot of engagements with those ads too.
How about the chairs this year?
I actually haven't checked yet this week, but we had, I think, 12 entries as of a week ago or so.
Okay. Are we ordering some and making them available again? We're not?
Nope, that would come from you guys. So
Okay.
let me know if you want to do that. But right now we have at least 12 people signed up without any requests for chairs.
Okay. That's good.
And our Judge's Choice winner from last year is out of town until July 20th, but she will be, she's really excited to paint the chair this year. So I'll coordinate that with her when she gets back in town.
Good. Let kind of put the word out when she's working on that, and we can give her a little encouragement and boost.
I think on the, I don't know if it's Facebook or where it is about the chairs, it says that you're supposed to purchase your own chair, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
And remember, commissioners can't enter the contest. You can paint a chair, but you can't enter the contest. So, okay. I know it's disappointing, isn't it? All right, next we come to the items on the consent agenda. The first item is the commission minutes from the May meeting. Since we had our June work session, we have May minutes attached. Any additions, corrections to those minutes? If not, I will hear a motion for approval.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous approval of the minutes. Okay, and we have nothing under unfinished business at this point, but now we get to the issue that I talked briefly about when Mike gave the budget presentation. No, the work plan first. Sorry, Mike. So would you like to talk us through the work plan, and where do we want to be at the end of tonight with that work plan?
This item is listed as a motion to approve, and if the commission feels comfortable approving it tonight, would welcome that, but we, of course, can keep this open as a discussion item. The reason we try to place this so early on the agenda is with the terms ending in July, we want to really have the discussion and kind of the work plan in place before new members come on board, or we have a new chair, or some of that transition that happens in August. So that's why tonight you have before you a draft of the Arts Commission's FY 2020 work plan. This work plan lists out the strategies and major goals for the Arts Commission starting the fiscal year after November 1. So our fiscal year is always a little off from the rest of the calendar year, but in short, we consider our year, the end of the year, October 31st, beginning of the year, November 1st. This work plan would begin on November 1st, as would our new budget. The work plan is before you first, before the budget, because it aligns with our strategies and our goals that have been set forth in the 2016 community conversations that we did with, focused on the arts. It aligns with our first community survey that we did online, as well as aligns with the second community survey we did just back in January and February. The items in this work plan spell out very specifically a lot of the different projects that the commission and staff will be working on starting in fiscal year 2020. If the commission approves this tonight, that's where we can then begin the process of building the budget that will actually guide a lot of those projects, and that we'll see later in August and in September. Just to give you a quick overview, under Strategy 1, this focuses on the public art portion. So this really falls into the wheelhouse of the Public Art Committee, where we see the implementation of the public art plan itself. Attached at the back of the work plan, if you haven't had a chance, the last 2 pages, that is the public art plan as it stands today. In green, the last 3 pages, I believe. Just the last 2 pages. There is the Parks and Trails Public Art Plan Overview that provides a priority list of the places that the Parks Department has identified for the Arts Commission to place pieces of public art, and then the prioritized, essentially the list that the Public Art Committee and the Commission has approved in previous years of where they would like to next place public art. If you'll remember, this past year, we had originally intended on placing a piece of instrumental art or an instrumental feature at Hawkridge Park. We decided instead, because TB Hanna was moving faster as a project, to approve the budget amendment to make that musical element, reside at TB Hanna for this fiscal year. So once again, still at the top of the priority list is Hawkridge Park for that musical feature. So if that's something the commission or the Public Art Committee would like to pursue, that still is part of that plan, as are the other items within the public art plan. On Monday, if you happen to watch the city council meeting, the Raymore Community Foundation accepted a $31,000 donation from the Parks and Recreation Foundation. The Parks and Recreation Foundation was a separate 501c3, a separate entity that in the past was very supportive of the Parks and Recreation Department. In January of 2018, they voted to dissolve. Their members just really were no longer able or capable of fundraising the way they had used to, and so they decided they wanted to take the remaining funds and donate it to the Parks and Recreation Department and the Arts Commission. And so on Monday, the Parks Foundation essentially donated $10,000 to the Arts Commission for a sculpture piece at Hawkridge Park. So that second item on that Parks and Trails Public Art Plan, that Hawkridge Park Amphitheater sculpture, that is now fully funded at a level of $10,000 that we would be able to move forward with if the commission wanted to, and if the commission kept that within the work plan.
Mike, what was the name of that group that,
It's called the Parks Foundation, the Raymore
No.
Parks Foundation.
that was the one that disbanded, you're saying?
Correct, yeah. And the city initiated a community foundation, the Raymore Community Foundation, about a year ago, and this is a 501c3. Its board members are members of the city council and the mayor, and they have that 501c3 status, and it's divided into 4 sections that support the Arts Commission, Parks and Recreation Department, the Animal Shelter, and the Police Department. And so residents are able to make donations to those 4 areas. Here recently, the Animal Shelter has been very popular and has used the account very well. The Arts Commission also is able to take donations, and this is where the foundation, the Parks Foundation, made its donation to the Community Foundation for the Arts Commission specifically. So without going into each of the individual projects, as I said, Strategy 1 really focuses on public art. Strategy 2 looks at resources, including some of that fundraising, coordinating with the foundation itself, and then also identifying grants and working with the grant writer, and also using our social media and kind of marketing efforts. Strategy 3 focuses on placing the commission's efforts in existing community arts programs or existing community events where we would be able to invest resources or even sponsorships to bring art to those existing venues. So that includes, the farmers market, that includes the work that the Performance Art Committee is doing on developing a sponsor program, and other, as well as providing funding and support to Summer Scene. The final strategy, looking to increase opportunities for performance art throughout the community, this was one that was included last year, so still relatively new. I think we have seen a number of projects that have fallen under this strategy that have been very successful. The Holiday Sing-Along, very successful. The concert series, if you were able to attend Jazz on the Lawn, was very successful, as well as I think upcoming events. And the response from both the community, our residents, as well as council members has been very positive. And so I see a lot more being undertaken under this Strategy 4. The only major edit I made was under Strategy 4 was under Project 3, developing additional programming that fosters community participation in musical events. Last year, we had really focused this because the project that was in front of us was specifically for the Holiday Sing-Along. I've expanded this a little bit to include really any participatory performance or musical events. So the hope is that we can broaden this out a little bit more so that it's not just focused as a project on the Holiday Sing-Along, but that it also focuses on future projects. I know there's one that has been mentioned about Summer Singers. If there's any interest in providing support to the Sound of South Kansas City Community Band and so on. I mean, there are plenty of opportunities where the commission would be able to sponsor and support some of those participatory musical events. And then finally, if we skip over and I already mentioned the Parks and Trails Public Art Plan overview, the final page really gives just kind of an overview of trail art. Is the intent of the public art plan that there would be a unified theme of artwork throughout some of the different trails in the city. And there are 4 different areas in which the Parks Department had identified at trailheads where either sculpture or interactive pieces could go. And so we grouped those all together just because, again, thematically, we wanted those all to be relatively similar, but they're still part of the overall plan, kind of in that priority 4 area. And then just below that, you see the completed works of art. These are all of the pieces of artwork that have been completed by the Arts Commission, sponsored by the Arts Commission, and are out for the community to use, except I know the T.B. Hanna one is the one that is still under construction, and so that will soon be completed. But that is the work plan in kind of a short form. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you might have, or if there are any additions or discussion that the commission would like to undertake when it comes to the plan.
Okay, any immediate questions come to mind? No? I'm wondering if, given the issue that Commissioner Setzer wants to bring up, if during the comments section, if that might ultimately be part of the work plan too, if people, or is that totally for next fiscal year, Pat?
It's really for the next fiscal year.
Okay.
It's really for 2020, yeah.
So we'll not include that as well, but that would be part of the work plan then.
It's part of the work plan. It's for the next year's budget. It's not where we are now.
No, but that's what the work plan is for next year's budget.
Right.
So I'm wondering if we want to be more specific in terms of that particular project, or we want to wait and add that in under the general performance art
The intention
strategy.
was that that those items live under Strategy 4, Project 3, develop additional programming
Okay.
that fosters community participation in musical events
Okay,
is where we intended that to land.
okay, okay. Anything else? Then, does someone want to make a motion that we approve this work plan now and get started on the budgeting part of things?
So moved.
Is there a second to the motion?
A second.
Second? All right, any more discussion then of the motion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. We have a unanimous vote. Well, then go on with the budget.
We will get to work.
Get to work on the budget, right. Okay, so the next item under new business, when Mike and I met this last week, I was curious about the funds that are underspent or unspent, and it was such an obvious amount, and there were a couple of things that it seemed to me we might want to go ahead and move on. So we've identified the parts in the budget that are not being spent, that have either been allocated and such as the paint and sip, such as some of the other, they're listed here under the B and C of new business. I guess I want to ask if everybody's had an opportunity to see this part of the agenda. It came out Friday. And if so, if someone wants to move item B and have a second so that we can have a discussion on that particular, which is worded as you see, to provide an additional $1,000 payment to artist J.T. Daniels, and then the sources from which that would come. So would someone like to move that?
So moved.
All right, do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this motion? Lauren?
It's more of a question / suggestion, I guess. Would we be able to work with him to maybe do an additional project, maybe like a smaller project?
Because he is currently under contract, if we were to do anything additional or outside of that, we'd want to probably engage him in a new contract or in a new agreement. I don't see why we couldn't. I just don't envision that being part of what we're currently committed to paying, essentially.
No? No? Well, then, let's see. So all in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Oh, we're unanimous. So we will essentially provide J.T. Daniels with an additional $1,000. He did do a lot of additional work from the original intent and spent a lot of time with us discussing it and revising it and that kind of thing. So, Mike, will you give him the happy news?
I will indeed.
Okay, all right, thank you. Then the other issue of C under new business is really a longstanding project that the Public Art Committee has had and is still underway. So you've probably seen all the banners around the circle here around City Hall. But a couple of years ago, for those of you who are new on the commission, we had purchased brackets for some of the really large street lights, which are actually used to belong to KCP&L but now belong to the city. So we have 12 brackets for some rather large banners. We haven't the banners. So to sort of complete some of the work that the Public Art Committee has started, the idea was to go ahead and purchase banners this year and get them up. And the intent, I think, Bob, if you want to maybe comment further on this, but the intent of the banners has always been to put them as a sort of welcoming to Raymore kind of, get your attention kind of thing.
Right, and I think Mike can chime in on this. I believe the overall first message is going to be welcome to Raymore. It's going to be very Raymore focused, no other theming for seasons or anything like that.
Right, where the circle does have more seasonal kinds of, and smaller banners, so. Let me entertain a motion to approve this budget amendment in the wording that's shown in your agenda.
I'd like to make a motion that we reallocate funds from the adult programming budget, the holiday sing-along, the professional development budget, and the family art days budget to purchase banners for the 58 Highway project.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All right, so now, is there any discussion? Are there questions, those of you who have not been on the commission? Oh, Bob, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, I know we have a design partner we're working with. Have they gotten back with us with anything at this point?
We have not yet engaged them as we wanted to see what the commission wanted to do first, yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Favorable, unfavorable? Don't want to ram this down anybody's throat because the fiscal year's got to go through the end of October. But this actually doesn't spend all of the money that we still have available. So there will be a little flexibility there. So no other discussion? Well, all right, then let me see those who are in favor of the motion. Please raise your right hand. Oh, here we are, unanimous again. How lovely. Thank you all. Thank you all so much. All right. Now we come to the sort of final, next to the last agenda item, and that's commissioner comments. And Pat, would you like to go ahead and I'm sorry, would you like to go ahead and bring up your issue in terms of the community band?
Yes.
Good.
Also, a brief comment. In the budget you were just looking at, you saw the thing about summer singers. It's the summer singers and summer not, which I've talked to a couple of people about, and then I've had two of them come back and approach me with, have really done a lot of planning, so that's actually getting some legs to it and getting organized so we might be able to present something. In fact, there's even an idea of a little mini-series, summer singers, summer not, summer artists, summer not, summer, little things that pop up and last a short amount of time, and many people could take advantage of that. Anyway, I put together something for you, and Mikey very accommodatingly copied, and you have copies of all this. This is to support, I call it a Raymore Community Band because it's from Raymore. The band has been in existence now for 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and done a concert and was well received, and we were very thankful to be able to play in Centerview, and all the help there was great. Get a place for people to get to and be out of the weather, especially with, we don't know if it's going to be raining or 100 degrees around here. But anyway, I put this together. When you got a chance to meet Director John Wilson, he's terrific. His purpose in coming that night was just to say, hi, how are you, and not really present things. And this had been talked over by a number of people. Anyway, at our 6-week mark, we've done one concert, and we have one this Thursday, and we have one in possibly at the end of July on a street in Peculiar. What we're going to do at the end of our little term here in July is to get the people together and see who would like to come back, who will come back, who can come back. Some are college students, and their plans will change. And then among those people, to try to get a board of directors of people that are willing to work on this to make it much more solidified and much more organized so they can go forward. Because of the way bands work, they have an obligation to pay the royalties on everything unless it's before 1929 There's some other stipulations in there, and I went through some of these. And I made a proposed budget for this. I sent a copy of it to John Wilson. He told me he was fine with it. If the community band would join a group called the Association of Community Bands, they can get a discount on all the royalties. And it covers ASCAP and BMI. It doesn't cover CSAC, but almost nothing for concert bands written by CSAC, so it's not an issue. I also included, you get to see their application and how they report. It will be the responsibility of the community band, the board of directors, to get the things reported, to get this set up and get a bill to you guys for the cost of that. Cost them $275. That covers the concerts that they do. That would be for 2020. It shows in there what we would do. Our part of the partnership, it will help arrange a concert inside Centerview and at least one other concert somewhere in the Raymore area that our citizens can get to. It tells when our season is, and for those, the band's going to perform gratis. They're not going to ask people to contribute any money to those things. That's done in a lot of places. It's a philosophical thing. We would just like to play for everyone and not go around asking for handouts. There's a transportation cost on there. They have to, I think they used a horse trailer at one point to move equipment, get it where it goes, sound system if there's not one included, loading, unloading, moving chairs, setting things up, moving a lot of big equipment, and that's about $150. The incidental costs would take care of some music, if they had to print programs, and taking care of things that just break down. Once we start moving those music stands, they're going to break. And we go through some percussion equipment, things just wear out, break, get snapped. It just sort of happens. And they would pay for those costs, and then they would submit an invoice to you. I've got some information on there about ASCAP in particular, how vigilant they are in collecting from community bands. It just sort of gives you a little bit of a history there. It does in the last paragraph, what's the difference between the community band and the holiday sing-along? Because I think you would be going, well, why aren't we doing this for them? Why aren't we paying royalties? Everything they sang that day was way before 1928 and all in the public domain, and there was no audience. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're paying a conductor, it doesn't matter. The big things are, when was it written, is it under a royalty, and is there an audience? If the community band of the Sounds of South Kansas City played every day in Raymore High School and didn't go out anywhere, they wouldn't know anything for royalties. No audience. There are no paid folks in that band. Everybody's 100% volunteer. But anyway, I wanted to get this to you so you had a chance to look at it and kind of understand how this is really, really standard of how community bands work. They're different than high school bands and college bands and professional groups. I've got a lot of experience with these and being on boards of a bunch of them, and this is a very reasonable budget. It still leaves them some things they need to come up with money for, but when they get a board of directors, they'll figure those things out. But this makes them very legal, which would be a good thing. Yes. Also, the way the timing is for this, they'll be through their first season. If they make it through their season, we presume they will. But I got to tell you, with community bands, if not enough people show up, you don't have a concert. And if they don't come to practice, you don't have a concert. And these things happen. I was in one last night that's been organized for nearly 40 years, but half the people just didn't come. And we're doing a concert Monday, so we'll see. They can kind of pop up and disappear, but the way this is structured to be in the next year's budget, you'll have plenty of time to know that, yes, they are going to be organized, that next spring they're going to be able to do this, and they will be encumbering these funds, or it's off and you're going to have $750 more to deal with. It gives you plenty of notice. We're all pretty confident that people want to do it. We know some personnel will change. It always does. But there were a lot of really excited people who had a chance to play their instruments again. A tremendous number of them are from Raymore itself. We have a few outlier folks, but they're absolutely welcome. But there were a lot of people in town like, wow, I haven't played in a lot of years, and they were just almost giddy about it. So you provided a very nice service, and they're all pretty excited about that. But anyway, that's all this is for, to give you an idea of how these work. Here's the legal end that they'll have to abide with, and this is something that would really help them have a lot better chances of making it into year 2.
Can we ask you questions, or Harriet, or we're not supposed to?
You're entitled to ask questions, of course. That's what we're here for.
I'd be glad to try to answer.
Okay.
Okay, all right, Laura.
I'm just the bass clarinet player in there, though.
Well,
On the incidental costs, it says that you borrowed instruments from Ray Peck
Yes.
High School. They were okay with that, I assume?
That is between Ray Peck and Mr. John Wilson. We're not any part of that. Yes, that's
right.
their discussion.
Okay. Let's say if we borrowed an instrument and somebody breaks it or something, then are we liable for it, or?
Us? No.
Okay.
No.
Who is reliable?
That would be Mr. John Wilson,
Okay, okay.
who borrowed
just
the equipment, and the other 2 directors that work for the school district. Yeah. I don't know exactly what discussion he's had with the district. I worked for a district for over 30 years, and we did not have a community band, but we loaned instruments to church groups for holiday performances.
Oh, I didn't know.
And the deal was, we'll loan it to you, and you have to get it back safe and sound. If you don't, you have to pay to have it fixed, and they all did. We rented our room to dance groups. I just got to tell you, I didn't like that, because every case was full of glitter. They did glitter, and it went inside the cases that were closed. I just was not a fan. But during one of the times, we had a $3,000 clarinet walk away and some other equipment, and the dance school paid it.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's them.
Now, does this fall underneath our umbrella, let's see, performance?
Yeah, she could live under there with the
So-
summer singers and the holiday sing-along.
Okay.
Because you're providing entertainment for the community, but you also have, the community actually has hands-on. They're creating the music.
Okay, cool. That's all.
well, and it seems to me that it might be a first opportunity to test out your new framework for proposals to the Performance Art Committee. And Pat, you shouldn't put down your own large amount of work on this, obviously. Not only playing in the band, but also getting things sort of organized.
Well-
And I see your hand in this. You can't hide.
I just play bass clarinet.
Uh-huh.
I'm glad to do it. When groups will come to play, and they come and they want to set up and do things, they are the ones that are producing it, so it's up to them to pay for royalties and that kind of thing. That's their deal. And the rules are different for jazz combos, and then they also get into how far the music projects into bars, into restaurants, and that kind of stuff. It's outside event. But concert bands have a real different thing. And this is what they have to deal with. But all those people that come to your performance group and they submit things, they're the producers. That's up to them to be doing those things, not you guys. You're just saying yes or no to the venue.
Any other questions for Pat on this particular issue? Again, thanks for I like the new name a lot.
Well, they're going to discuss it. I just called it the Raymore Community Band, because we're from Raymore and we're the community. Yeah, there has been some discussion. They're just so new. you know?
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, it's an opportunity to help them grow.
yes.
Great, great. Do you have, Pat, you have any other comments under commissioner comments at this point? Thanks again for your work.
Pat, I do have one more question. The summer singers,
Yeah.
now, did I
Some are
miss?
singers, some are not.
Yeah, I know, did I miss this?
It was actually,
I was here for the May meeting.
I actually said something about this in one of the meetings, one of our public art meetings, I think in February. We were talking about something and I happened to mention that. I don't know why it came up, but yeah. It's
In the works for next year.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, already talking, they haven't talked to the band yet, but they'll doing a joint thing with them if they go to the amphitheater. And the happy thing is that most of the things they would sing along with the band are in the public domain. How about that?
Okay.
We love those.
Okay, thanks. Jim, do you have any commissioner comments at this point?
I do have one quick question. Where do you recruit these folks?
Well, we know a lot of them. See them in the grocery store, and you know people that played, and several of them are music directors, so they know former students that are back for summer. Plus, they still play. They tell their friends. I think if you're a golfer, you know a lot of golfers, and we're musicians. We know a lot of musicians.
Bob, do you have any comments this evening? It is. We'll get to that, but go ahead.
Well, I'm going to say thanks for your leadership. Thanks that with Sharon was here, I could say the same thing. We really enjoyed having your experience in volunteering and making us, growing us into what we are. Thank you.
Thanks for being my pal. Anything else? Laura, any other comments this evening?
No, I think I've talked enough.
Oh,
but
you've
I just agree with what Bob said.
Okay.
Very much so.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So this will be my final commission meeting. I will be a commissioner until the 31st of July, and feel free to call on me, and I'll be at the summer scene, and feel free to call on me. I'm not going to disappear from view, but it has been a pleasure to be part of this process and commission for the last 5 years. Since it will be my final commission meeting, I'm going to turn the gavel over to Lauren Jones, who is Assistant Chair, Vice Chair.
Thank
and
you,
let him
ma'am.
adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. Any other comments from anybody? If not, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
By a show of hands, please. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.